Elementor has recently done something very interesting by releasing their Popups feature within their Elementor Pro package. And it has begged the question that a lot of people have been asking is, do I need a separate lead capture tool, or is Elementor, if you have Elementor, is that now the best lead capture tool for WordPress? And in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive comparison between the Elementor Popups feature, specifically against the Thrive Leads plugin, which I consider to be the current most powerful lead capture plugin for WordPress. So in this video, we're going to focus on the feature set of each one of these. We'll look at the different formats of pop-ups and fly-ins and all the different things you can do with each of these tools, the advanced features, which is a very, very interesting one you want to stick around for, some of the multi-step opt-ins, some of the more complex opt-ins you can create with these tools, focus on the conversion optimization areas, how conversion optimized are each of these, and does it give you the data you need to optimize your own conversion rate as well. The display rules and some of the trigger activities, the things you can do to customize how these all work. We also want to look at the ease of use, and this is going to be a bit subjective. Everybody has like a different flair and different style, but I'll go through and we'll build an opt-in form in Elementor Pro Popups, as well as building a lead group in Thrive Leads, and compare how they work and kind of let you judge for yourself, and I'll give you my opinions as we go through in terms of the ease of use. We'll obviously talk about the lead groups, which offer some really interesting targeting functionality within Thrive Leads, and compare that to what exists in Elementor Pro. Finally, we'll talk about the integrations. Your lead capture tool is only as good as what it integrates to, and if it actually works with your email autoresponder. We'll look at analytics and what information is fed back to you from these tools to make sure your conversion rate optimization is going appropriately. And finally, this is very important as well, the cost of these tools and if one works better for you and your business model than the other. Okay, so we have a lot to go into. Before we dive into it though, guys, hi, I'm John from incomesh.com. My goal online is to help you find the perfect tool for your next project, and I'm super excited for this one. If you want to learn more about the stuff that I'm working on here on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified when I release new videos. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into it right now. So I've created a dummy website that has both Elementor Pro and Thrive themes installed onto it. And let's first look at the newcomer here. So we're going to go to Elementor under their templates folder here. You now have this new area for Elementor Popups. When you click on this, let me go ahead and full screen my monitor here. So this will give you the ability to look through all the existing pop-ups you have on your website. You can see they're using the very standard WordPress type of interface. Thrive has done some custom interfaces for their own plugins. We'll go ahead and click up here for Add New, and we're going to create a new pop-up, and we'll just call this Versus Thrive to get a little crazy here. I'll hide my window so you can see exactly what we're working with here. And Elementor Pro has done a great job of including several templates to give you a nice quick starting point. We kind of scroll through and show you what they have immediately. And what's nice is that they're not telling you that all you can do is capture leads with this. So a lot of this one, for example, simply has them click on a button to go to a specific sales page, talking about a deal. There's some that do the classic, the classic lead capture where they're looking for your email address. But others have even little things like just showing a coupon code, or I saw one that had social share buttons. A lot of different options you have here. One thing you'll notice here, some social shares. One thing you'll notice here is these are not segmented specifically by their type, but you can go up here to the category and see classic pop-ups, which are light boxes in Thrive's terminology. You can see fly-ins. These will come in from a different direction along the screen. So a lot of different options. Hello bars that just pop up here at the top. And you can also go to your own favorites. And if you save some templates that you really, really like, you can come back to them over and over again. Let's do that real quick. Let's say we really like these Lego guys. You can hit the heart here, and now they should show up on our favorites area here. Okay, so let's go ahead and just start from scratch, because I do want to allow the building process to happen. So let's start from scratch here, and we'll just go ahead and click the X button. And now we're here in the default Elementor settings. So immediately you can see on your settings area, you can control the width of your content, whether you want it to go, fit to screen and height, if you want to do like a screen filler and have it go as far as you'd like in the width as well. So you can do a 100% vertical size and top. I don't think that's very nice though. Let's go ahead and do something a bit more reasonable, like a 500 pixel width, and we'll do fit to content. So we have just a nice little pop-up that hits here. You can also control the positioning, left, center, right, and the vertical top, center, bottom. So for example, the slide ins are very common where it'll slide in from the bottom corner. Here, instead of creating different actual opt-in types, Elementor has just given you a lot of control to where you can make your own slide in by combining an entrance animation by, let's say you want to do a slide up, slide in up, and then you can So now you have a slide in, but it's still in just using the default pop-up template from Elementor. So let's go ahead and make a slide in. So we have our fit to content. It's positioned the way that a slide in would be positioned. You can also change how quickly and aggressively it does the actual slide in animation. We'll just make this about 1 second here. Under general settings, you can just see the name and the status here. And then you can also show how it is shown, which we'll just skip that for now. We're going to make a very basic pop-up here. So now we're going to go in and start customizing this guy. So let's give it a heading. And you can see it's fitting to content nicely. And we'll just call this sign up for instant access to your goodies. And we'll center this text. We can also style this a little bit and make the typography slightly smaller here. So let's say maybe about, goodness. That'll work, but let's go ahead and adjust this width here. This is a little too wide for me here. So let's go back to our settings and we'll take the width here and let's just make it maybe about 300 or so. That's a bit better for a slide in, I think. So now this text is looking pretty good here. Let's add an email opt-in form. So we'll do a form. Put this guy underneath that. And it has some fields here we don't really need. We don't need the name for this. We don't need a message for this. We just have the email. Now let's remove that label. So now this is looking pretty good. And look, we have the default colors here. So if we were to adjust these default colors, oops, they're disabled. So you'd be able to customize the color here however you'd like, of course. And let's just click here and go to style. Let's change the button color to a red. That's nice, that's fine. So now we're looking pretty good. And then we'll be able to, if we had this hooked up to our autoresponder, we can go to our actions after submit and we can connect it to our email autoresponder, for example, MailerLite or ConvertKit, etc., etc. You can even connect it to another pop-up. So what this does, this is pretty interesting. Actually, I haven't seen this one before, but we can actually, when you submit this form, instead of going to another page, you can have it launch another pop-up. So if I'm assuming I have something called pop. So submitting this action could pop up another pop-up. That would be probably extremely frustrating for most users, but there might be some situations where that would make sense. Maybe a more reasonable one would be to close the pop-up once you've submitted the action. But I like they give you the ability to open the pop-up as well. Very, very curious choice there. So we won't do that. Instead, let's do MailerLite, and we could do a redirect. So we won't go and fill all this information in, but you'd send this to a thank you page or the next step in the process, and MailerLite you would connect into your specific lead group and have them go there. Okay, let's head on back here. And let's just add an image to make this a bit more rounded out. Let's say they're going to get this book. Okay, so not a bad looking form. We can adjust the background color by selecting the section here and just go into style and adjusting the background to a classic color. And let's just do, we don't want to do an image. Let's just do a classic color. That's fine. Maybe just give it a little bit of gray. That'll work. Gives you the idea here. One thing I don't really care about so much is that X button is directly covered up by the text. Let me just see how this is going to look on different screen sizes. We'll preview in tablet mode. You can see it's still covered up. You also have this interesting look here where the email field is stacking. So let's see what's going on here. Let's go look at this and go to the email column width. I want it to be 100%. And the button, I would like it to be 100%. So this is interesting why it's looking this way. I would expect it to be able to stack. So we're just kind of, I'm trying to figure out, I've never had this issue before, but ideally you'd want to be able to stack it. See, that's looking correct. And tablet is looking very weird. If I were to drag this around, yep, it's still looking weird. Okay, so as far as ease of use, this is one that I haven't really seen before. You would think that the button would be able to stack nicely. Okay, so we're going to leave that one for another day. I'm not entirely sure what's going on tablet mode. All the other forms are looking correct. And now let's see what we can do about that button, or that X button over here. So here we can see we have the close button, which can be turned on and off. So we'll go ahead and remove that close button. You can't really customize the position of the close button. I'm not a big fan of that. I suppose what we could do is put some padding at the top of this area here. So let's try that here and just see if we can make this look about right. Let's put maybe 15 pixels of padding. And again, I'm not a big fan of how this looks. I would expect the X button to be a little bit up and above, but that's okay. We'll leave that for now. We'll just accept it and remove the close button. We'll also turn off the overlay. So this is going to be just part of the process here. And then we can finally, to make sure we don't have the ability to close it from a click. So instead, we'll have to allow them to close it by just tapping off of the screen. So we'll go ahead and hit publish. Now under conditions, and here's where it's a very big difference in how it's handled in Elementor and how it's handled in Thrive Leads. So here you have the conditions where you're given basically the ability to include or exclude anything you want in how this is displayed. So here we'll be able to say for a singular page, let's say there's just one page you want to be able to show, like you only want this to show up on the front page, boom, you're good to go. If you want to show it everywhere except the home page, boom, you're good to go by switching that from an include to an exclude. But you can also say, I want to include this for my posts. And you can say, if I want to show only for a specific category, and then you could type in the category here. I don't think I actually have any categories in this dummy account, but you'd be able to choose whichever category you'd like. You could also go into WooCommerce. Let's go here to WooCommerce and show for specific product types or product categories, you can show this pop-up here. For right now, we'll just go ahead and say for the homepage, we're going to show this content, and we'll add that condition. And now you could stack multiple of these display options here on top of each other. We'll go next to triggers, and now you can see how do you want this to be displayed. Is it as soon as the page loads, or maybe 5 seconds after the page loads? You can set that up here. We'll just say after 2 seconds of page loading. You can set scroll triggers, direction down or direction up. So once it's gone 50% down the page, or if you were to say 75% down the page, it would show up here. And it's going to happen the first of either of these two. So for example, if it takes you 1 second to go all the way down the page, it would show up on this trigger here, on the scroll trigger. But if you're taking your time reading through it, it would show up after 2 seconds of the page having been loaded fully. All right, the next one is scroll element. So if you, name your individual sections, your individual items on your page, you can have it to as soon as you scroll to that particular item or that element, this pop-up would show up. This is a cool one. So you can actually show which click you want it to trigger on. So on the 4th click, you can show it up. Won't probably use that too often, but that's pretty interesting. After inactivity or on page exit intent. So we'll just go ahead and keep the scroll area here and the page load. That's good enough for us. And then under advanced rules, this has some pretty interesting ones. Specifically, you can hide this pop-up if they're already logged in. So if they're users of your website, you can hide this. It's not as good, in my opinion, as something that Thrive Leads has, which is their smart links and the ability to hide forms for existing subscribers, because here they actually have to have an account on your website. But it's better than not having anything to not frustrate your users too much. What's really cool, and I don't think Thrive has anything like this, is the ability to show when people show up from specific places. So you can actually say when they show up from search engines, say, hey, Google browser, welcome to my site. Or from a specific URL, you could say, hey, if you just came from facebook.com, say, did you enjoy the post I made on my Facebook page, or something that's relevant that kind of increases the engagement there. To avoid frustrating your people, you can have it only show up a couple times, so 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then it won't show up after that, or after so many sessions of them kind of browsing your site. So a lot of different options here on the publishing settings. We'll just go ahead and say, we'll hide it for logged in users, because that's a pretty useful one in my opinion. And we'll hit save and close. So now this one is good to go. Let's go ahead and have a look. And we'll go back to the homepage here of this little dummy website. Oh, I have some others that are also working here, but this should show one of the problems pretty nicely. Okay, so it didn't look like it showed up. Let's see if I close this one, scroll all the way down. Let me try to refresh. Let's do something real quick here. So I have this guy that I used for a previous tutorial, a hello bar question. This was actually using a multi-step pop-up. So I'm going to log into this one and hide it real quick so it doesn't bother us in our current tests. We'll go to General Settings and we'll move this back to Draft, and we'll hit Publish and save and close. So now he should not bother. Now, what did you do here? Hold on a second. Let's go back here. Let's say General Settings, move it to Draft, and exit to Dashboard. See, I don't want to publish it. I guess we'll save the draft. And now we should be able to view the page. This is one of the downsides with Elementor, which we'll just talk about in just a moment. But I want to see if I can get this to show up correctly. So this pop-up should be showing up. Let me go ahead and clear my cache real quick and load this page one last time. Okay, so we are having some struggles here. Let me just click around a little bit. So we're having some issues with getting this to show up correctly. So let's take one last look through our settings and see maybe what's going on here. So if we go to our display conditions, we want it to show on the front page, and we saw it as being editable as we were viewing the page, so that can't be the problem. Let's see if maybe there's a problem with having both of these on at the same time. So we'll just do on page load. Oh, that's the problem. Of course, we're hiding it for logged in users. So let's keep all this as it is, and let me open this in an incognito window. So let's go here and view the page. And so you can see here, it's not showing us here. That's so very well done. It works correctly. It's not showing here because I'm logged in, but if I open this page in an incognito window and we wait for 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, here's our slide in. It's working exactly as we would expect it to. And we can click off of it and avoid it there. So that's how Elementor works. Let's go ahead and build something similar in Thrive Leads and compare how the experience is with each. So we'll go back to our dashboard here. And let's scroll down to our Thrive dashboard and open up Thrive Leads. And let's go ahead and create a new lead group. And this is one of the big differences. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but I love that Thrive organizes everything in groups. And there's a very smart reason why they do that. We'll talk about it once we're done building this guy out. So we'll call this versus Elementor. And on our display settings, let's go ahead and set up the front page as also being where this one shows. And we'll save this and close it. You can also go into individual posts and search for a post, or into your categories and select a category, into all your pages and choose, click them off. Really, really easy to go through and set up how these show up. One thing as I'm looking through, I can see you also can set it up for product tags. So it looks like this will also work with WooCommerce, and visitor status logged in or logged out. That is great. And direct URLs. Looks like even direct URLs, looks like they've added this. I honestly did not see this before, where if they came from a particular link, it would show or not show those leads. Very, very good job. Okay, so we'll say front page as well. And actually, let's do not the front page. Let's do all the pages so we can see it working separately. Okay, so this is going to show up on a different page as well. With lead groups, you can drag and drop to show the priority. So you're never going to show two different sets of opt-in forms on the same page for the same visitor. These may have, I have a lead group down here I've created before. This may have some overlap in the pages which display with this lead group here, the versus Elementor. But if I drag this one higher up, that means it's the priority, and I'll show this one and not that one. This is very, very smart to allow you to not kind of bombard your folks with too many opt-in forms at once. All right, so we'll create a new opt-in form. And here they give you actual options. One of the benefits of Thrive over Elementor is they have the ability to embed things directly into the content. So if you're writing a long blog post, you can say after the 10th paragraph, you can include kind of an advertisement or a ad in your article there. So that's a very useful one that is not shown in Elementor. But we'll just do something similar. We'll do a slide in here. And you can see it's starting to couple up all the opt-in forms you've created underneath that lead group. Now we'll go and create a form for this slide in, and we'll create the form. We'll call this, of course, versus Elementor. And let's go ahead and adjust these frequencies real quick. We'll show it not immediately on page load. Let's do something similar. After you got a certain period of time, user scrolls a certain part of the content, percentage of the way down. So very similar elements here. I like both of the options that are given to you. We'll do something very simpler after 2 seconds. And then Smart Exit Plus, it allows you to kind of replicate this for smartphones. So using the option to trigger the form exit intent. If you are doing exit intent, you can also show for mobile users, hey, you can't tell if they're about to leave your site, so show it after a period of time. That's what that one means there. So we'll create this, and just for demonstration purposes, let's show this all the time. Although here, this would show you to only show it every couple of days to make sure you don't bother people too much. And under position, similar to Elementor, you have the options here. If you want to come in bottom left, bottom right, top left, top right, we'll just keep it the same way and hit save. And now we're ready to design. So open this up, and this will open up in Thrive Architect. So Thrive Architect and Elementor have different kind of philosophies in how they build, and there's really not one is not better than the other. It's all personal preference. And we'll start with a blank template here. So you'll be able to kind of figure out which build process you like more and go with that there. So here you go. And this is our element here. It looks kind of empty and silly, and that's okay. We're going to build that out real quick. So let's put a heading in just by clicking here. We'll center it. And what do we call? I think we have the example here. And let's just kind of make this exactly the way it was. Sign up for instant access to your goodies. So let's do that. Okay, pretty easy there. And now on sizing, let's go ahead and take a look at what we can do with the overall element. You can see layout and position. You can see width here. We can either do a fixed width, a min width, or a max width. So for example, if I wanted to say the maximum width I want in any size is, that looks about right, 365 pixels. We won't go, pixel perfect, but you could if you wanted to, of course. Now let's adjust our size of our typography here. So instead of showing 32, that looks about right there, 25 pixels. You can also go to different screen sizes and see if everything looks good. Now see, that's a little bit too big for me. So here, let's make a couple of adjustments. We'll go back to the element size, and we don't want it to take up the entire screen size. Maybe we want to say only 200 and let's say about 250 for a mobile device. And then we can go back to the top, or let's go back to our mobile size and adjust the font size here. I don't want it to take 3 lines. So we'll come here to our main options, and we can adjust that down to about 20. But you see, we've got a lot of padding here. So let's, instead of try to make everything so tiny, let's take a look at our position. And here you can see we've got 20 pixels of padding. For mobile only, let's adjust that from 20 down to, let's say, 5. Okay, and so now we should be able to go to our heading and make this fit a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we're down to 19 pixels, and now we have a good looking button there. Okay, so let's keep adding in here. Let's add that image in. I'm just going to tap on image, and that's automatically going to add it to the bottom. And let's find our book that we used from the previous example. Here we go. Insert it into the page. It's already looking good right there. And let's do a lead gen form. It's how they call it in Thrive. And we can edit the form elements if we'd like to change the color. We also have the ability to, let me get out of here and show you something. You can edit the error messages, do a bunch of different things. Let's just show you adjusting the button to make that button a red color. So we can come here, and that's close enough. There we go. That'll work. Apply it. We can even give an icon here to show an arrow, and we can make the icon color. That's on the right hand side. That's correct. We can click on the icon and make the icon white. So there's a bit more clicking in Thrive to kind of make everything work together, but there's like infinitely more options in what you can do with it. You can adjust the button style, so we can even, don't really want to do that, do I? Because I just colored all this. So let's just adjust the border of that button, and from a 60 pixel border, let's just make it a square. So now we have this guy here. We won't go through the process of actually lining it up with our email autoresponder, but I do want to, at a minimum, make the fields the same. So let's get rid of the name field. And in order to do that, we actually are going to link it up, aren't we? So we'll connect this. And I don't have the API connection set up. So we'll skip over it, but if I had my email autoresponder connected into this dummy account, I could remove that name field and we'd be good to go. One thing here, if we wanted to include a button, that was something we struggled with. The button was right there on the text. Let me show you how Thrive has kind of gotten rid of that problem. You can actually, let's say we want to make an icon become the button to remove the form from view. So I like the multiply. If I can multiply, what is it? Or is it times? There it is. So if you look for times in the font awesome icons, you see some that look like what you'd really expect to use for a close button. So that's a nice one. We'll grab this, and now this could be a close button that we can put anywhere we like. So I'll put this at the top. And since this is sliding in from the bottom right, I'll put this at the top left. So let me show you a couple things you can do to kind of tweak this around just right. You can adjust the size the way you'd like it to. I'm going to give it some padding on the inside. Let's give it 15 pixels of padding. Take away the padding on the upper end. So now we have this guy is starting to look a bit more like a button. Let's go through here and give it some rounded colors and a background style. Let's see here. Let's just make it like a white with a black border. And that looks like a button. It's a little too big, isn't it? So let's make it smaller. Okay. So now this looks like a close button. So we can, obviously you can adjust it a little bit, make it smaller. Maybe there's a little bit too much padding here. So maybe instead of 15, you'd be happy with 5. That looks probably a lot better actually. And now we can move this entire guy around using the margin settings. Take the link off and we can move this up. You can even move it outside of the element. So we could honestly do it like this. And then now we have something where it's very clickable. It doesn't get in the way. You can move this all the way around. And we can also view this on different screen sizes and see how this icon now on mobile it's a little bit too much, right? So let's adjust it like this. On mobile, maybe we'll have it right there. That looks pretty good. But that did not affect how it shows up on desktop. So again, a lot of tweaking you can play around with Thrive Architect and Thrive Leads, but we'll go ahead and actually link this up to the action we want, right? So we have this icon here, but it's just an icon. So now we're going to go down to animation and actions. We have this ability for custom integrations, and we'll actually link it up with the closing form action. So now let's save our work, and we'll do a quick preview before we show this live. All right, so now we have our form, and we can, boop. Looks like it's not going to work here for me. So let's go back and just check one last thing here. Background style, layout and position. Okay, everything's looking good. Let's go ahead and save and exit. And let's go to our web page here. So we'll visit the site. And we should have this displaying on any page. So we'll go to the services page. And let's wait for a couple seconds. Okay, so we're happy with the design. Now let's just make sure we have all of our display settings correct and we've turned this slide in on. So we'll go back to our Thrive Leads dashboard. Let's look at our lead group and we can see here we want to display this on desktop and display it on mobile. And now we should be good to actually test this. So we'll go to our site. And let's go to a specific page that the other pop-up should not show up on. And now you can see here it goes. It slides in from the bottom right. Looks pretty good. You can make your changes here. And now this button we customize will close it wherever we want it to go. Okay, so that's a brief overview of actually creating and working with to show you the ease of use. They're both very easy builders to work with. If you like to tinker around with every little pixel, I think that Thrive Architect gives you a little bit more freedom, but they're both really, really good builders. It's really personal preference for you. Now let's talk a little bit about the data analytics and advanced features in each of these. And this is where I think Thrive Leads really starts to pull ahead of Elementor Popups, at least at this point. Because Thrive is all about conversion optimization, they give you some really interesting data. So for example, you can go here to your lead reports, and it'll be able to show you a conversion report to show you where all your conversions are coming from the last week or month or whatever the case might be. You can actually see specific groups, how different groups are performing. You also have all these other reports. One of my favorites of all this is your content marketing report. And what this essentially allows you to do is if you have a lot of blog posts or pages on your website, you can see which pages are driving the most conversions based on your Thrive leads being embedded on those pages. This is huge. It's actually showing you, let's say you have a brand new blog post and you're starting to get a really bad conversion rate on that blog post, even though you're really proud of the post. Well, that can tell you immediately that maybe you have the wrong opt-in for that page or that post. And it just gives you a lot of very interesting data to help you optimize your marketing efforts. You also have these advanced features up here. I'll skip over asset delivery because I've never really used it. I deliver my freebies through my autoresponder, which I think you probably should too. But you can export out all your leads. This one here, Smart Links, is the feature I really want to touch on. So if you are sending people from your email list back to your website, which we all should be doing, right? You have the ability here to send a signal to Thrive Leads to say, hey, this person, because they came from my email autoresponder, they're already a subscriber, stop bothering them with more offers of the same thing. So what you can do here is instead of just badgering them with the same post or the same opt-in offer, you can either hide the forms or display a brand new state of the form called already subscribed. And you can also say, do that forever. And so what this allows you to do is send out an amazingly targeted offer for each person based on where they are in their journey. Let me show you how that works real quick here. So we'll go back into our Versus Elementor and we'll edit this slide in one more time. And let's edit the design, and let me show you something that I think is really fantastic. So here we have it. This is our form, looks great. Down here though, you have this option of different states. So if you click on adding a new state, you can either create a new state, for example, a two-step pop-up, or an already subscribed state. So let's create an already subscribed state. And so what you could do here is instead of offering the exact same thing, let's say you don't want to offer that book, which is your lead magnet. Now you can potentially offer, let's just say, a paid product at a discount. And let's just make this a little bit smaller. So you can say, instead of doing a lead generation, you could now say, get my book for 50% off. Subscribers only. So some way of making them feel, valued and that they're not just getting a random offer. And so what this effectively does is any place that they would have seen your opt-in, so all those display rules you set up before, they'll still see a slide in, but they won't be frustrated by getting a redundant offer. Instead, they'll be getting something that should be highly targeted to them. It should relate to the opt-in that they opted in for, but they'll be actually able to purchase from you or take the next step in that journey for you. So that is a really awesome feature for an opt-in form plugin. Another thing that's important if you're big on trying to maximize your efforts is being able to split test your opt-in offers to make sure that you're getting the best conversion rate possible. And Elementor right now doesn't really have that feature built in. So if we go back to our dashboard from this pop-up we built from Elementor, you can see each one of these is acting as their own little isolated world, right? So you've got this pop-up, you got this pop-up, you got this pop-up. They're not really related to each other. You're not really doing any competitions between each other. Maybe with additional plugins, you might be able to run a split test, but I don't think on the pop-ups that would be supported at this point. On Thrive Leads, on the other hand, we have this lead group where all these slide-ins are related to each other. So what you could do is, let's say you want to change your headline. You can click this purple button and say clone. And now you have two of the exact same guys, in the same trigger, just everything the same. But you can go in and adjust the format of the second one and launch your own split test using Thrive Leads. So this could be as simple as changing the headline here or entirely changing the offer to see which one converts better. We'll just do a very quick headline change. So we'll just make a quick little change here, and we could adjust the size of this obviously, but we'll save and exit. And so now what's going to happen is we go back to our interface here. Let's just hit a quick refresh so it knows that we've built this guy. So now we have two different forms. We can start a split test between them, and we'll call this headline test. You can set your winners based on conversions, duration, and statistical probabilities. And now wherever you are running, whenever you're showing this content, let's just do an example here. Let's see how quickly this will pick up the data. So let's go to a page and let's see. Oh, okay, that's our Elementor version. Now here we are. We've been hit here with want more conversions, try Thrive Lead. So that was the second one we made. So already the split test is working. And I don't have this hooked up anywhere, but you should be able to see now when we come back in, if I refresh this, you can already see that this second version has had an impression. Somebody has seen it. It did not get any conversions though. And over time, you'll be able to make this really pretty graph that'll show you how each one is performing. And if you set up the automatic winner settings, it will eventually only show the winner and then allow you to do a split test up beyond that. Okay, so we have covered a lot so far in this presentation. It went a little bit longer than I thought we would, but that's all right. So let's talk about the cost here. And this is where it really depends on you and what your business model is. So there's two different ways of purchasing these items. One, with Thrive Leads, you can either purchase the individual plugin for one website and only get Thrive Leads, and that'd be $67 for lifetime of access and lifetime of updates and all that good stuff. You also can purchase membership plans, which I highly recommend because Thrive, each one of their tools is cool, but when you combine them all together, they're extremely powerful. So if you are only building your own businesses, your own websites, you can get their normal membership plan for about $200 a year. And that's for 25 of your own websites. Or if you're doing this for client work and you don't want your clients to buy the software themselves, you can do the agency package for much more money. It's about double, almost $600 per year, but it gives you access to 50 sites, whether they're your own sites or your client sites. So that's a very different model here. Elementor Pro is very simple. For one license, it's $50 a year. You do not have lifetime updates. So after a year, you need to purchase again to keep your renewal going. So it's cheaper the first year, but then over time, it can become more expensive. And then for unlimited licenses, $200 a year. Again, there's no lifetime deal here, but you can do unlimited licenses for yourself or for clients. So what is the perfect tool for you? If you are just getting started and you're just building a business for yourself and you don't have a lot of tools at your disposal, I think the Thrive Themes membership plan for that 25 sites for $200 a year, that is hard to beat. I think they provide a really good education system as well as really good tools, and they work well together. So I think that's a really good value. If you, however, are in two different camps, if you already have a bunch of tools, but you're not happy with their page builder, then Elementor Pro may be all you need. And getting that one license for $49 a year could be just enough for you. Additionally, if you are working a lot with clients and you want to be able to provide this service as your own software, your own technology, whatever, the unlimited license for $200 a year, that's much cheaper than the Thrive agency plan. So that's something else to consider there. But I would never recommend you get the normal membership and sell your copies or do that. Play by the rules. The rules are, if you're selling this for other clients, get the agency plan here. So that is what I think. What do you guys think? Thrive Leads versus Elementor Pro Popups. Which one is the more powerful tool? Which one is right for you? Which one do you personally enjoy? I would love to hear from you because, I am an engineer. I'm big into the data, big into the conversion rate optimization part of the game. That may not be what is most important to you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Go ahead and put them in the comments below and be on the lookout for another video from me helping you get the best tool for your next project in the next couple of days. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.